Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Paint Minis Live. I'm your host, Bill T, coming at you from the Creation Cave. I see we already have some lounge cats in the live chat. Hello, Wave of Mutilation. Hello, Evolution of Gaming. Hello, Frost and Fists. How's it going, everybody? I hope you're doing well on this wonderful Wednesday evening. Tonight is going to be a relatively simple project. We're doing just 2 wings for our demonic unicorn that we've lovingly called Glittergore. What do you know? It's kind of a My Little Ponies mashup. Nerds Nerd, how's it going, Nerds Nerd? Good to see you. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Anywho, coming up very shortly here on next Monday will be Paint Minis Live first anniversary. So we've been doing the show for a year now, and we've got 156 new faces that have joined us on our journey. So isn't that neat? We've got a wonderful community of folks that are around with Paint Minis Live, especially on our Discord. If you want to join our Discord, there's a link below. Let me know if it's broken, because sometimes even though you make it go, tell it not to stop working after a certain point. It's usually like 7 days, I think, is the default when the link is active. I try and make it forever, but sometimes it doesn't work that way. So if it's broken, let me know. I'll send out another link invite to the Discord. Indeed, I couldn't agree more. I'm glad I met you too, Frost and Fist. We've met so many cool folks through Paint Minis Live. It's been astounding. We've done paint jobs for folks. We've done army boxes, and with the Horde of the Damned for Dungeon Minister, a dragon for Dungeon Delver. We're going to be working with Frost and Fists and Hound's Armory really soon. We did an interview with Shadow and Sun. I mean, I think Monday is going to be a wonderful night to reflect on the year past and maybe do a bit of a rewatch on some parts of streams or whatnot, and just kind of reflect on our favorite PML moments and whatnot. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And I am still kind of planning out what I'm going to do a little bit down to the wire, so to speak. But I think it's going to be great. Again, we're just a real simple project tonight. Some bat-like wings we're going to do for our unicorn tonight. I've been browsing some pictures of bats and kind of how their wings look and whatnot over the past 20 or so minutes, trying to prep myself for this. Most of this is probably going to be done with the airbrush, just real quick and simple, and I think it's going to be a good time. What other news do I have? I'll be talking with Kenny Boucher from Next Level Painting tomorrow night prior to the stream, so I'm excited to speak with him and talk some shop and kind of get to know what kind of curriculum we're going to be going over with Next Level Painting. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a private thing, so I'm not going to stream any of it, but I may update you guys along the way as I work with him and talk a bit more about what my game plan is with Mr. Boucher. Anywho, I'm going to go ahead and get the camera turned over, and we'll get to painting here. I've got the compressor all fired up. I've got a couple of paints already pre-mixed. I came prepared tonight. What an unusual experience that is. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Let's see here. We're gonna grab that, and let's grab our other way around, please. There we go. Okay. So we've got our models over there. We've got me over here. Everything's working out hunky-dory tonight. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much, Wave of Mutilation. I do appreciate the happy birthday remark. There we go. What do you know? It's just been a wild ride. The last year, and I have had a blast. It's been a lot of fun. So let's go over some paints here. We've got I'm just gonna start knocking that over. Okay, all right. We'll put you guys maybe a bit further in the background. All right, so we got a couple of paints here. I'll kind of go over what my game plan is and kind of what I'm shooting for. Maybe I'll go ahead and just share my screen as well, real quick. Yeah. So, kind of taking a look at some just Google reference images here. I'm not sure. Okay, that's not going to get any bigger, but this guy right here is kind of what I'm looking at. It might be a little bit harder to see on your screen, but I'm taking a look at this and seeing that the overall color palette is kind of brown to a bit transparent. There's also a little bit of red between the, I guess, the fingers of the wings, you know. And I'm seeing that in a few other kinds of bats too. Over here is somewhat prevalent as well. So I think that's kind of what we're gonna go for, is some type of wing that is reminiscent of a bat wing. So the paints that I've pulled out specifically for that are for this reference image. So we can go ahead and get back to where we were. Here we are. I'll be learning the art of the gangster gumbo and ancient Chinese secrets from the legend himself. Indeed, yeah. Kenny was one of the first names in painting that I started with. Approximately, oh man, so many years ago. Probably my first 2 years of painting really followed a lot of what Kenny had laid down on YouTube and so on and so forth. I kind of really meshed with a lot of his style, and he was a big kind of motivator for me and painting a lot of the stuff that I was at the time. And then I kind of fell out of the hobby, and then I found social media and YouTube many years later and started doing this, blah, blah, blah. And now we're here. And I heard he was doing some mentorship stuff, and I decided to go ahead and pull the trigger because, you know, more skills are better than less. And Kenny's an excellent painter. So the dark golden brown here is going to be our base color. And then we're going to use golden brown to highlight and kind of make some transitions between golden brown, the dark one, and the light one, because it's kind of like when the light shines through it, you can kind of see it a little bit translucent. So we're going to use that and kind of work that in. And then burnt sienna around the fingertips or around the fingers of the wing, so that I guess there's like blood vessels and stuff that kind of run through there. It would appear anyway. So we're going to kind of do that. And depending on how dark this is, we may even add in some warm flesh to brighten it further and really make it stand out. So those are our choices for tonight. I have a couple of backup colors just in case. These ones don't quite are not quite saturated enough for me. Again, the warm flesh, and then the shadow flesh here is a bit more on the pinky side. So we'll see what happens as we start to paint. Painting is a fluid process, and as a painter, we should be fluid as well and kind of work with what happens along the way. All right, so we're going to start off with some airbrush flow improver in the pot here. We're going to go ahead, approximately 4 drops of flow improver. This guy's a little wiggly, so we're going to move him out of the way. We'll work on that wing last. Again, this is the model in question. And what I've done here is I've just simply taken a piece of wire and I've drilled into the wing, put some hot glue in there to hold it all on, and then just driven it into a cork with a washer at the bottom to be a counterweight. And this works out pretty well because it's a bit more stable that way. So just kind of a pro tip for you. Let's see where everybody's coming from tonight. Looks like everybody's coming from YouTube. Got a lot of friendos coming over from Twitter the other night, which was interesting. I wasn't expecting that. We're only going to need a drop or two of paint for our airbrush. So I'm going to go ahead and get us a little bit of paint in the pot. We had about 3 or 4 drops of flow improver. I'm going to use a single drop of paint to see where that gets us. Kind of looking for a bit of that skim milk consistency when you're airbrushing, because you can make many layers and they dry really quickly. So it's a-okay to start off a little bit on the thinner side, and if you need more paint in the pot, you can remix after. Just like a DJ, you can remix your paint. All right, so again, I'm just going to start on my glove here. See how the consistency is, and you can already tell that it's pretty good. Make a nice big little spot, and then you can kind of tell if your paint's thin enough when you can draw a real thin line and you get halfway decent coverage on it. You know, lines that are like that thin, and the paint flows correctly out of there. That's kind of how I tell. Once you get to know your particular tool, you know, your airbrush in question, and how it likes to function, whether it's a little bit higher PSI coming out of your compressor or a little lower, you know, it's just getting to know your tools. So we're going to go ahead and just base coat this bad boy. Tonight we're using the Harder and Steenbeck Infinity for this because we'll be doing some detail work later on down the line. You can leave a little bit of gray in the parts that we kind of need to. I forgot that I had set the camera up a little closer to myself tonight because when I'm doing detail work, I tend to work a bit closer to my body. But for posture's sake, I have tried to stop the slouch, work a little bit further away from myself on anything that I can. It's important that we have good posture. Otherwise, you're going to just kind of kink up your neck muscles and whatnot if you're really kind of all in on a model and doing that office style pose where you're hunched over your desk. And I've gotten really bad at it, so I'm trying to break that habit, break it with me, and do a posture check. All right. So how's everybody doing tonight? What's been going on in the hobby world? Tell me all about it. I'm interested to hear what folks have been up to. That brown is looking really nice. I think this color choice was kind of right on the money. I had thought about tonight's stream. You know, I was trying to make the thumbnail for it this evening, and I had sat there thinking about it, and I almost took the one of those characters from a Red Bull commercial and used it as the thumbnail, and then I kind of realized that I didn't want to get a cease and desist letter from Red Bull in the mail over using some kind of copywritten character. So I went against that idea. I tried to recreate something that looked like a little bit of a Red Bull deal for the stream thumbnail tonight. I wonder, did anybody get that? Get the reference there? Hope you did. So our brown is going on there pretty slick. Just trying to make sure to hit it at all angles because this is going to be our base color. We'll go over it with a paintbrush, the little phalanges going on in here. Maybe a little bit later. All right, let's check the chat here. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Let's bring you guys in. All right. Finally painted my BattleTech battleship. Ooh, that's cool. Is that with the BattleTech Combined Arms game that's out there, or like the version of BattleTech that's the Combined Arms one? I have had a longing to do some BattleTech at some point in my life, but I have yet to find somebody who's been interested in actually playing it. These little fingertips are giving me a little bit of a problem. The little claw bits at the end there. Just a matter of hitting them at the right angle here. Okay. So I think that's looking good. We can move on to our other wing. Well, we still got some paint left in the pot. Long time since you played some BattleTech there, Wave of Mutilation. All right. I read some of the some BattleTech books. I really liked, there was this, well, most of them are about mercenaries, but I would have to go back and find the actual title of it, but I had a great time reading some of the BattleTech books, man. What a blast. I really enjoyed myself with those. I tend to listen to a lot of audiobooks while I'm working, either on models or literally just at work. It's kind of a fun little thing to keep my brain going while I'm waiting to come home and paint models. So but I did enjoy them. The lore is really good. I will agree with you there, Nerd's Nerd. The hell has exploded from bad dice rolls. Warhammer 40k players would probably sympathize with you. That and the plasma stuff. Got caught pretending to be a stompy robot. I mean, me personally, I think play, like, as an adult is really important, my partner's been talking a lot about the inner child of the self, and some of that stuff. I think it's important. I think it's a very important part of being a mentally stable individual, which is why I like to paint models and play games with them and do all those things. I think it's an important part of being a person, is that playtime. Whether it's, some people play by going out on a snowmobile, or they like to go play golf, or play video games or whatnot. But I think play as a person is very important. And pretending to be a stompy robot at a game shop is A-okay in my book. I mean, I think Brian from Weird World War II says it best when he says, keep it weird. Keep it weird. I enjoy my weird. And I think that's kind of important. Blue Water Navy units in Combined Arms. You know, that sounds really cool, to be honest. I was really into this. It's a totally different game. Nothing to do with Blue Water Navy, but it kind of had a bit of a naval feel to it. I was really into Star Trek Attack Wing back in the day, and I really liked it. It was very space themed, but it still had a lot of elements that felt like a Blue Water Navy style of game. I'm just making sure that I've hit this well on all sides since this is our base color. I want to make sure there's at least some color everywhere and we don't have a ton of gray everywhere on our model. I think that ought to do it. Okay. Again, with the little fingertips here. Okay, that's good enough for me. I'm fine with that. Okay, I'm gonna do a quick rinse in my discharge cup here, and we'll go on to our next color. While I catch up on the chat. Let's see here. Oh, how's it going, Road March? Welcome, welcome. I think it's really cool how you say you just whipped up an STL and printed a Blue Water Navy for a game. That's pretty cool, nerds nerd. You had some talent there for sure. I've seen some of the stuff you've done for, I believe it was Dust or Dusk. I can't remember the exact name of the game, but I've seen some of your files. They're really cool. Yeah, Road March. These are the demon wings for the unicorn. I'm focusing right now on the winged bits, and then we'll kind of do up some black and whatnot for the actual phalanges of the wing. Oh yeah, getting some caffeine in you there, Mythos. I hear you. The Dungeon Delver is in the chat. Hello. How's it going, Bill? Good to see you. Good to see you. Hey, I thought you're the Phoenix you did, or no, it wasn't a Phoenix. Oh boy, Sphinx. Yeah, the Sphinx you did was really good. I enjoyed watching you paint that stuff, man. I had a great time. I hope you do it again. Honestly, I'd like to see it. Yeah, Bill squared in the chat, a rare occurrence for us here at PML. Gonna throw a little bit more flow improver in the pot. All right, our next color up we're going to use will be, where did I stick that bad boy? Here we go. Okay, right in front of me, literally right in front of me. We're gonna go with burnt sienna, and we're gonna target these little guys, these kind of fingery bits here on our wing. Hey, I thought they were cool. I thought they were cool. They're Dungeon Delver. Alright, so we just need about 1 drop of paint to 3 drops of flow improver. That was kind of a larger drop than I was hoping, but you know what? That's okay. That's alright. We can work with it. If we needed to add a little bit more of something, it's no big deal. Alright. So then I just take the sponge again, toss that, and then give it a little bit of that nice bubble. And then reaches the top, I just take the bottom and give me some more room. You can do it a little bit slower, but just for the sake of speed, I tend to, just cut a little corner there, sacrifice the sponge, a little bit of cleanliness for some speed. But now you can see how when that flow improver really starts to mix in there, the surface tension of those bubbles starts to break much faster, because essentially you're adding like glycerin and soap to the mix is all that is, and maybe like a little bit of ammonia. So here's our color. It's coming out a little bit thin. You can see on my brush, especially right down here, it's coming out a little bit thin. We'll see if the paint mix changes as we keep going. Yeah, it's a little too thin for me, so I think I need 1 extra drop of paint in there, and I'll do a quick remix. Waka waka. Just like a DJ, do a little remix. Somebody can sound clip that and use it against me at some point to tease. I'd be okay with that. What's going on, Scrub Sapien? Watched another one of your updates just the other day on your Stormcast Eternals. There we go. Now we're kind of starting to see some progress here. I'm gonna go down here, a new spot. You see how it's still a little bit thinner, but we can work with it. Just make multiple passes. It's coming out just fine now. Again, this is kind of why I paint on a glove. We've got a lot of our original base color here, and I'm just going to kind of try a couple of things and see how this is going to look. It looks like, because I kind of want to capture a bit of that transition. I'm going to see just how much paint it is until it becomes opaque. Because I'm going to kind of want to make it look like there's blood vessels in there and such. It looks like we don't need much paint at all, so we'll see how this goes. Great full moon tonight. Oh, all right. You dreamt that you had some ankle wings and could fly. There you go. Like Hermes from Hercules or something. I'll get you a nice tight shot so you guys can see the kind of transitional process in color. Oh, well, I'll be looking for your update there, Scrub Sapien. A bit too much there. And, try my best to kind of keep targeting the corner here. And Now I'm just going to kind of put a little bit extra. Keep building up that line that I've just started here. Now I'll do it on the other side. This might be a little harder to see because now we're in the cup of the wing. But I'm going to do it on the other side as well. And I'm just working this ridge here back and forth with my airbrush. And then when we'll start to see it kind of come together when we add in our lighter brown that we're going to use. This will bring in a lot of that natural blood flowy kind of colors we're looking for. Remember the end there. And we're just going to keep repeating that process down the wing. So again, you can see kind of on that close-up shot how, I mean, we've essentially painted this guy, but with the angle that we're using, the airbrush, very sharp angle here, we're able to create much more of a gradient between colors. So for the sake of my own sanity and making sure most of this is still in the shot, I'm going to back it off a little bit. I'm not really going to worry too much about if I hit the bony bit of the wing, that's a-okay by me. Again, just rotating the entire model. To get at the areas I need to. Having the cork there helps. Okay, now we're going to go and follow along the nice long bit. We only have to worry about kind of one side here. Getting a little bit greedy towards the end, that's all right. With the trigger. Okay. And go for the arm bone. Again, just kind of outlining all of these. We're kind of pulling off this flow, or the trying to make it look like there's a lot of blood in these areas. I'm gonna put you over here. Just one moment here. I'm gonna put you like off the screen. We don't need you here for now. We need this guy. What's going on, Calvinoni, the one and only? And thank you very much. I appreciate the care package there, Cal. Cal is, talk about a champ for the people, sending us a wonderful care package of skulls and all kinds of goodies. I'm excited to see what came from the land of sunny California. So thanks again, Cal. So it's important to have your paints really thin if you're going to airbrush very close to the model. And it's also really important to make sure you kind of got a practiced hand at trigger control so that you don't just, do a nice blurp right in there and have a giant spot of paint form really quickly, because the further you push back, it gets really fast, really quick with how much paint you can use. I think these two colors, this dark golden brown and the burnt sienna, would look absolutely wonderful on some Death Guard models if you were doing some stuff for 40K. And just little passes back and forth on this. You can tell that there's a nice gradient there overall. That's kind of what we're looking for. Trying to sneak this paint into the crevices. And then our last hurrah here with the big, kind of larger phalange of the wing. I'm not sure exactly what you would call these. Spars, phalanges, not entirely sure. I thought phalange was kind of catch-all for any kind of fingered thing, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Somebody with knowledge will probably correct me at some point. We have 8 live chat lounge cats in the studio tonight, and man, I am happy everybody is here. It's good to see everyone. Let's see here. Catch up with the chat here for a minute. The airbrush and hammers doodle out of the film. These are the wings to the to our demonic Pegasus, Glitter Gore. These are the wings to that. And the reason why we've based this color is we're just doing these inner bits between the actual fingers of the wing. All right, so now that we have that, we'll do the same thing with the other wing, except for now that I kind of got a hang of it, it'll probably be a little bit faster. A little greedy with the trigger there. Okay. Now, if you were doing this with a brush, I would recommend, start with your base color again, kind of like I have. And then I would water your paint down quite a bit prior to actually putting it on these, and use that translucence to your advantage. Again, just small layers, layer by layer, build it up, working from the inside to the outside, and just keep watering down your paint as you go to give yourself those really nice, pretty transitions between colors. We're doing it this way because when we add this last golden brown color or warm flesh, whichever I think is going to look the best on there, essentially our highlight color, we're going to leave it just translucent enough to pick up on the red that's under it. So we're going to be using very little paint, either that or it's going to be very thin. I might put some wash and glaze medium in there, just to ensure that it's as thin as I want it to be, in order to kind of pull off the effect that I'm looking for. This middle part of the wing is nice and easy to paint. Again, just trying to keep that sharp angle to leave behind some paint on the raised bits there. But quite a nice finished little product so far. Again, a little bit greedy with the trigger finger there. We're all right. May get hidden in the future, who knows? All right, let's check on the chat, see what's going on. Yeah, sure. We still got to meet up. I know you there, Dungeon Delver. I'll highlight this. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but like, yeah, we got to meet up at some point. We'll see you a little later there, Wave of Mutilation. Thanks for coming in and chilling with us. But yeah, tap me on Discord, and I know you wanted to meet up about something else a while back, and I just I got kind of overloaded with life a little bit. So let me know what you're thinking, and let's make a time, get together, talk about some stuff. And plus, I can teach some airbrush knowledge too. What's going on, Cheeseburger? Have you done an airbrush 101 video yet? I haven't. I have a script written for one. I need to like film some A-roll and B-roll and do all the shenanigans with it. Learn a little bit of video editing stuff. Essentially, this is one of the reasons why I'm bringing Kenny Boucher from Next Level in, is to teach me some of these, some of his best practices for video editing, and particularly for painting models, and some of his photography tips. So I'm going to be learning some of those things from him so that I can start off on the right foot. It's one thing to do up the Titan video and kind of just have fun with it. But it's another thing when you're doing something like a tutorial or whatnot. You want it to be at least somewhat entertaining and not too dry, while being kind of an educational topic. And so I put that one a little bit on the back burner. I might even do a stream about it at some point, depending on what comes of it. Just make an airbrush night where I clean my dirty airbrushes and invite people to ask questions that they've about airbrushing. It's a very personal instrument. I mean, you tune this thing to how you want to use it. It's kind of like everybody's got their favorite paintbrushes or paint brand or whatever. There's a lot of personalization when it comes to airbrushing. Well, how are we doing on paint? We're good on paint. Let's keep trucking along here. This right here is a bit of the tedious part, folks. But we're doing it live like we always do. There's no cuts on this. This is what it takes to make these pretty models, at least in my style. But you do you. Use what you got. Do what you think looks best. You're the artist. Have fun with it. This is just how I do things. And if you like to do things different, that's awesome. That's being totally you. Yeah, I think that's probably the way that I'm gonna run that. That sounds probably like the best idea there, Cheeseburger. I think that's a very good plan. I mean, premieres are a little tough, especially for like something that's going to be essentially a 10 to 15 minute tutorial video. Because I don't know, I don't think people's attention spans are going to be kept that long on something like a tutorial. So I'm trying to keep it within 15 to 20 minutes tops. But that can be a kind of a time crunch to try and answer questions in that space of time. But I think it's probably the best way to go. Otherwise, they can leave it in the comments and I can just sort through it later. Which is okay. I don't mind taking some time to type out an explanation. A little overzealous there. A little overzealous there too. It's alright, we can hide those later. Alright, I think that's all she wrote when it comes to that part of the effect. I'm going to go ahead and do a color change here, and we'll switch to, we'll start with this golden brown and probably end with warm flesh. And I'm not sure. We'll see how it works. I haven't necessarily settled on which color is going to come out best with our base color. We'll find out. Gonna run a little water through the airbrush, just blow out anything that's stuck on the needle. Okay. run a little thinner through it too. I don't need too much. I just need a little, a couple extra drops of thinner to make sure it's all cleaned out in there. Doesn't hurt. Very nice. Nice clean airbrush. All right. Cool beans. On to the next step. I'm going to throw this golden brown here on the paint shaker. I'll be right back with you guys. All right, and we're back with some nice golden brown paint. So this should be, again, another pretty quick process. We're just going to go ahead and stick some drops of flow improver in there, probably about 4 or 5. I think I added a little bit more than I usually do. Maybe 2 drops of paint in the cup to start with. I'm going to try and make this a bit more translucent so we can leave some of that burnt sienna behind. Just do a little bubble, toil and trouble in the color cup. Good enough for me. All right. So now for our wing here, I'm going to go ahead and... Hey, glad to have you there, Road March. I'm going to be careful of the transition we already kind of have on the wing itself. It's a much lighter color, so I'm going to try and aim. I'm going to try and aim the airbrush away from that transition that I've already done, and then towards the center, we're going to go ahead and kind of make a color statement of it. Now, it's going to look pretty poofy to start with. Really kind of make that color shine towards the middle. All this is going to look really poofy because we're doing it from the airbrush. But once we start adding a little bit of Reichland flesh shade in there, it should bring these colors together a bit. All right. Doing this out of shot again, I'm sorry. Keep wandering back up to where I had the camera placed a little while ago. So now you can see we've got some really pretty kind of transitions going in here between various colors. I'm going to kind of work on this just a little bit too much of that dark color underneath it for my liking. There we go. I'll go through and do it on the other side. Again, running a line of paint where I'm wanting these colors to kind of meld, and then I'm going to start shooting further away from it where I don't want them to be. Kind of a bigger statement of color in the middle. Turn it this way and start working this way. Kind of run where I want my transition to be. Open up the throttle just a bit and start making my statement little by little. A little bit too cheesy on the throttle up there, but it's okay. Kind of work it all back together again. So I'll give you a nice little close-up shot here of what we've got going on. A lot of color right in the middle. A bit less as we taper down off into where these little blood vesicles are coming out of the wing. And even fix that up a little bit more to keep with the, there we go. Kind of make it look a bit more subtle, or not subtle, but worked in towards the edge. Bring it back a little bit. There we are. All right. Well, the Dungeon Minister came in too. Where have I been not looking at the chat? Hello, Dungeon Minister. Good to see you. Glad to see you here. Oh, you're working on another video. All right. All right. Did you start working on that castle? I believe it was a castle you were going to work on for 2,000 subscribers, if I remember correctly. again, just kind of working up that color towards the middle of this wing to bring us our full gradient all the way up. And it looks like we had some success on the other side too. This is looking pretty gnarly. A little bit more over here. Make sure. All right. Very nice. Okay. So that's our first wing. So if you're doing something like this, the trigger control on this is very, very light. I mean, it is barely pulling that needle back and we're getting paint. And that's kind of how I start off these lines of paint where I want them to be. It's just a very small amount of color coming through the airbrush and marking the territory where it's going to be. And then the further in I get, I'm making more and more of that color statement from my original kind of line in the sand, so to speak, and working it up into the middle to the full extent there. All right, let's check out the chat. Looks like everybody's doing hunky-dory. We have 6 live chat lounge cats in the studio tonight. Thank you for being here. I'm gonna get me a little hydration real quick. Gotta stay hydrated while you're painting. All right. What are we sitting at? About an hour 10. We got plenty of time. Where's everybody coming from tonight? Let's see. It's like everybody's coming from YouTube. So it's kind of a repetitive process with this a little bit. Um, Building up this gradient on this wing. You know, each panel is going to get some love. So it takes a little time and patience, but that's okay. We're getting close to the end of this phase of our paint job. The nitty gritty details will come soon. That's kind of where the fun lies, is in the little details that you work up to along the way. Some extra paint there. And work our paint statement all the way in. Kind of right in the middle there. So we have these really nice transitions going on. Let's see what our like kind of dried paint scheme looks like on this. I think this looks basically what I was going for, essentially, color-wise. Probably end up doing a little bit of dry brushing on here with our alternative highlight, which did we decide on? I think it's warm flesh. Yeah, it's warm flesh, a bit more of a pink color. So where was I? That was the finished one. All right. Pardon me, sir. I think I have had a little bit too much crazy tonight. Starting to lose track of which one I'm working on. I've yet to try speed paints, but I feel like you could probably do these wings with a speed paint by just doing maybe the same type of thing I'm doing here, just with grays and white, essentially, with your gradients, working your way to like a very brilliant white, I guess. And you could probably use your speed paint with that and make it look really cool. I don't have any speed paint to use, but if I did, that's probably how I'd do this. Is just work in grays all the way up to whites, because a lot of people, a lot of folks don't. Well, I think they kind of just work with the white zenithal layer. But if you add that gray underneath it, I've heard that it works out really well. And kind of give it a bit more of a monochromatic gray scale color. What's the word I'm trying to bit more of a grayscale color scheme. There we go. Sorry. Trying to English. I'm going to do a quick... Oh, we'll go ahead and do the other bits of the wing. It looks like I missed one of the little phalanges. It needs a little red, and I kind of want it to look really nice, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure I hit that so it all looks nice and uniform. Let's see here. Priming black and then sloppy black, dry brush gray, tight dry brush white. Yeah, that's kind of what I would do with a speed paint or contrast or whatever you want to call it. Whatever poison of choice you're picking that night. That's kind of how I would do it. Although I will say the more colors that you add into a model, the more intrigue that it has for the eye. So, you know, depending on how much you really want to work at it, if this was going to be something that I'd put in a painting competition, I'd probably be using many more colors than I am. But I think the finished product will still look really nice. I think folks will like it just fine. Alright, got that guy done. Still kind of working our way up over here. Think of your wings as little triangles, you know, and you want to make your color statements. I guess is the term I'm using tonight. I'm making a new term, color statements, because it sounds very appropriate for this and something professional and totally not made up. But anywho, you know, you're trying to make the statement of your color towards the middle of your model or the panel of your wing, essentially, and then work your gradient into that, and you'll have this nice, very nice effect. It's really pleasing to the eye. I think it looks really nice. It's a bit more natural. All right, so we have two. Okay, we'll just do this real quick. I did not realize you were there. This little bit right here. I'm just gonna take care of you. Fine. We'll work that in. Okay. Do the same over here. It's got this like bit of granny flab on the arm, or webbing, I guess you'd call it. I don't know. Up here we call it fish bellies if you got a little bit of doodle hanging under your arm. So it looks like a fish belly. I digress. Okay. That is looking just fine for my taste. This one, though, we have to... I'm going to go ahead and color change back to that red and make sure that we have the transition. I missed one while we were doing that wing there. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure it's the best work I can do, which that's kind of... or about the best work I want to do, I guess would be how to put that. So going back to this burnt sienna just real quick, we need like a drop of this, and that's it. So 3 drops of flow improver, that's a bit more than 3, but whatever. I'm using this color for a second. 2 drops of paint. And then we'll... Hey, thanks for being here there, Dungeon Minister. I appreciate it. It was good to see you, and yeah, I'll keep winging it. I'll keep winging it. We're winging the paint job, and it's looking just fine. All right. Well, take care. Oh, that was a while ago. Whoops. Missed that by a country mile. So now we're kind of going back to this. I'm going to put the transition on this side. Sorry, what am I doing? Give that a quick second to dry, and then moving back towards our golden brown mix. Now again, if I was gonna do this for like a diorama or something, I'd probably make these wings have a lot more shadow. But since essentially what's the painting style I'm going after here, I want everybody around the table to kind of be able to see the model and its intention for the paint job for your players. I'm thinking this is probably going to be in somebody's D&D game. So I'm doing this a bit without shadow. It's got some shadow, but more likely it's without. So you can kind of see some of the raised bits have some shadow underneath them from our previous color. It's not much, but it's kind of more about what the model is. Rule of cool kind of thing, That's what I'm going for here. Okay. Take our golden brown here. Right. Couple drops of flow improver. about 1 drop of paint. I put in very little flow improver here. So again, we don't need much. I don't think I went with this color, did I? No, we went with this color. Alright, fair enough. I'm just having myself a time. Friendly faces everywhere, humble folks without temptation. Sorry, friends, I'm going a bit out of shot there. Looks like I didn't actually add that color. We went and skipped a phase right to our highlight color. That's okay. We're just gonna go back over a little bit, make one last pass with this. This is gonna be really quick. Oh, crap. Alright, we'll have to hide that a little bit. We'll just work with it here. We can save it. There we go. My elbow slipped off the table and my finger said, "Let there be paint." I'm just going to cover that back up a little bit. Okay. And we've got ourselves Now some wonderful extra little transitions that we didn't necessarily plan, but they're in there now. I think they look just fine. Off to the dry brushing stage of this whole game. My thought here is that I'm gonna go ahead and grab like a pale ivory or something and probably use that. A little bit of this other color that we have. We're gonna make it ultra white. Then we're kind of essentially on the upswing. It's just picking out the little phalanges and some little claw tips, and we're there. We're rocking it. All right, so this is our highlight color. Olive flesh looks like a good candidate. I think we're just gonna use this color, period. My hands are a bit wet from being in the gloves, and so I'm waiting for them to dry off a little bit before I put on another pair, but I had a giant hole in one of them. So I'm just giving that a second. Yeah, I think this olive flesh will do nicely to kind of catch some of the raised areas that we're looking to hit on these guys. Man, I am so happy that spring is here. I'm like really happy it's here. Oh, I don't know why, but this winter felt like quite a bit. Felt like a lot. This winter did. Not so much the weather part, but just, I don't know, just life in general. And I'm happy that spring is here. Everything's starting to grow. It's looking real nice here in the northern hemisphere. Right. Cool beans. Off to our olive flesh tone that we're working with. I'm gonna put just a little bit on the palette here. Run a little string off to the side because we don't need to dip our whole dry brush or whatever brush we're going to be using for dry brushing right into this. This guy looks like a prime candidate. I'll just take a little finger, put a little bit of water on your on a wipe over here to kind of moisten the bristles a little bit. And I'm going to start kind of working it into my glove here until I see that there's very little paint involved. And now we just kind of standard. Dry brush our way through this. May need even a little bit more. There we go. We're kind of starting to see some results. Targeting all those raised areas, giving them a very nice highlight pass. But this will really help to kind of work in the color scheme. I'm just taking very, very small amounts of paint here, and I'm working it into my my glove until I see that there's almost no paint there. And then going right back to my model to catch those ridges. Get all that ridgy goodness. That'll give us some very clean highlights. And you want to work kind of away, like perpendicular to whatever you want to dry brush. And add in just another little dab of moisture on our now. The way that I dry brush, I'll take the paint from this, and since I'm wiping it onto my glove, I'm not losing any of the properties of the actual acrylic that's in there. If you're dry brushing and you're like rubbing this off on a paper towel or something, you're taking the moisture out of the paint and kind of affecting the acrylic a little bit. Can lead to some a little bit zany results, like kind of giving you a chalky effect with your when you're dry brushing. So if you run into that, that's kind of what's causing it. Just wipe your paint on something that's that's not quite like that essentially isn't like paper towel or something that's gonna soak up your paint. And if you do that and you get good results, by all means, do you. Like you're the artist here. If that's kind of what you were looking for, sometimes an effect like that is called for. If you're doing something in particular. So by all means, do it up. Do it how you want to do it. This is supposed to be a fun thing for you, and that's all I could ever hope for. I'm just here to provide some tips and tricks depending on what your paint style needs are. Maybe they work for you, maybe they don't. I can totally understand if you do it a different way and that is just the way you like to do it. By all means, do it that way. My world, I don't think there is, a one-stop shop for everything model painting. So again, as you can see, we've kind of hit all of our raised edges here, and I'll give you a nice kind of zoomed in shot of our model here. We've hit those raised edges. We've made them pop out. Once we cover up the phalange bits with black, we'd probably do a kind of dark gray or maybe a little bit lighter gray, and we would dry brush over this the same way and just kind of do it that way. That is essentially the effect that I was looking for with this. So I'm kind of happy the way that turned out. I should probably invest in some actual like makeup brushes for this or something. But I have a lot of brushes that are kind of just ones that I don't use, that are off-brand kind of brushes. I'm kind of a-okay with just having them do their own thing and be used for this. Can really see how a quick dry brush with the right, a little strategic dry brushing can add a lot to your model. I mean, look at how that's turned out for us. I think that's looking mighty fine, if I do say so myself. Get it going on the inside of the wing as well. Bit more paint. Go back to my little wetted area here and get a little bit more moisture on my brush. Really don't need a ton. Just a very small amount of this will go a long way for the water that I've put in. I gotta see how much that affects the paint. And I'll run it off until it's looking something like that. Even a little bit less. Again, I'm not quite worried about the actual like phalange part of this. I'm more worried about just the raised edges on the inside here. Trying to hit those best I can. Okay, that's looking pretty good to me. Oop. All right. Last bit here before I sign off. Oop. Okay, we're just gonna be a pain, huh? Okay. All right. So the last little bit here is to essentially just kind of cover up our little phalanges. We've got essentially a coal black paint scheme going on with our unicorn. So that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna take the fingertips on this bad boy with some coal black, paint them up, and then we'll use that same dry brush color to give us a quick highlight, and we're done. That's it. Now, if you were doing this just to get this, tabletop ready, I can totally understand if you want to just go ahead and go with the dark and the light on the wings, the dark brown and then the light brown on the wings, and then paint it black. Totally understandable. That'd be very much so a tabletop ready model, in my opinion. Like, just go for it. You're good. But for me, I tend to kind of take things a little bit to the extreme and kind of push that envelope. I've got just a bit of black on my paintbrush here. We'll go ahead and make these guys a bit more uniform with our actual model. Black really goes a long way as a color. Just taking my time. I'm going through this, trying to avoid spots we've painstakingly worked on here. Now, again, these winged bits are going to be the thin bits there. These winged bits, though, are going to be we're going to dry brush them again with the same tone that we used for the wings to bring back the detail from the actual model itself. So, because, you know, you wouldn't really want to leave this black since you're going to lose all that pretty detail you paid for. Trying to just nice and nice and steady here with the paintbrush. Looking good. Okay, you are going in timeout, sir. Speaking to my wings as if I know them. Now you can kind of see how our color scheme is taking shape. So kind of work my way through this a little bit. shoot. There we go. I'm starting to ball up a little bit when I get down to these really fine details. As the closer to the body you work, a bit more detail, at least that's what I found. You can kind of wring out of it. Or steady your hand, I guess. Because you're essentially just bracing the brush. Okay. After a bit of handling, it looks like they're finally ready to call themselves done. They just don't want to be on their little corks anymore. That's just fine. Gonna get a little bit, rinse my brush, get a little bit of moisture back in it. It's always good to help that capillary action for your paint. Moist brush will keep that paint flowing nice and pretty for you. These detail bits get me really quiet. I'll show you the finished product here in a minute. All right. So we have a nice wing. I think that looks pretty decent. Careful with you. Just make sure our little finger bits are all covered up. All right. So essentially, you would do this to the other one as well. You do this to the other one as well. But since we're kind of going on that 2-hour mark, and I know when I start to get tired, I start to get a little bit inaccurate with my brush. So I think tonight I will leave the painting there, but this is essentially your finished product. Well and truly, this would be. Again, you hit this with. I'll just do it on this side real quick. We'll go through what exactly that whole finished product looks like here in just a moment. I'm gonna do the dry brush step real quick, and then we can go ahead and wrap this up. But again, just a little bit of paint from our highlight color. Wiping it off onto my glove until I see that all the paint's basically gone. And then just kind of going back over it. Let's see here. And so we're just dry brushing a little bit just to get that extra detail back from the black paint that we're using. Little quick strokes here. And it doesn't matter if we don't necessarily hit all of the bits we're looking for, because our well, any of the other bits because it's still the same color we used earlier for um, the actual wing highlight. So it just kind of will essentially settle itself right in there. Give us a bit of definition. And you can see how that turned out right there. Got a little chalky on me up front, but that's fine. These guys, though, towards the middle over here, these guys turned out great. Guys up there, I can redo that at another point in time. But it got us our detail back from our straight black. Well, thanks, Nerds Nerd. Much appreciated. Have a good night there, Frost and Fist. Good to see you, as always. Hey, good. And Lightmane showed up, too. Hey, how's it going, Lightmane? Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. But this is your finished product right here. After all those steps, this is what you end up with. Something that looks mean and clean, and will look really nice on our demonic Pegasus. So, without further ado, here I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up because it is getting a little bit late. Right. Well, say, thank you for joining me tonight on Paint Minis Live. I do appreciate it. I had a great time painting these wings. I'm looking forward to seeing them on our actual model, and I'll go ahead and release some pictures of that when I get around to it here. I've still got to go ahead and get through the other steps on our other wing and kind of make that whole thing kind of come together. But I hope you learned how to go ahead and paint through some of these bat winged, a lot of demons and stuff out there that I see. They have these big old wings with a lot of detail to them, but it can be kind of hard to wrap your mind around tackling what stages and where and how to paint it. I hope watching me paint these wings tonight has maybe helped you in some way. And hopefully, again, you learned a couple of things here, and we can see you again next time. We'll see you tomorrow night at 8:30. I'm going to kind of dial it back just a little bit because I believe it's Twitch. Twitch does it in 30-minute increments. So I'm going to stick to 8:30 start time for my stream. But yeah, so thanks for joining me tonight. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and we'll see you again tomorrow.